In this video, we're going to take a look at installment notes payable. So what the heck is an installment notes payable? So an installment notes payable is any kind of note that is paid off in equal installment payments. So a common example of an installment notes payable would be a mortgage or a car loan. So it's something like a mortgage. We know what our monthly payment is each month. But we know that not all of that, unfortunately, goes to pay off the mortgage, right? A portion of that represents interest expense, and a portion of that will actually go to pay off the loan. So an installment note, every month you're paying the same amount as a payment, but a portion of that, again, it's a mixture of interest and principal being paid off. So we're going to take a look at an example notes payable, and we will fill out a partial amortization table. If you want to see the complete table, you can take a look at the same example within the PowerPoint. So it says on October 15th, year 1, King's Inn purchases furnishings at a cost of $16,398. The loan is an 18-month loan and has an interest rate of 12%. Monthly payment is $1,000 beginning November 15th. So we have a couple of things to identify. We know the monthly payment is $1,000 this month and every month for the next 18 months. Now, we will break this down between the 2 months. So we'll start with month 1. So in month 1, the first payment that is made is going to be $1,000. Now, what we want to figure out is what portion of that is interest and what portion of that will go off to pay off a portion of that loan. So the first thing we start with, if we want to find interest expense on something like an installment note, your interest expense will be found by taking the unpaid principal balance of the note times the interest rate, and then we will do it times the time factor because we want to make sure to convert that from yearly interest to a monthly figure. Now, going into the first month, how much of the note is still unpaid? Well, that's the $16,398. So that's the portion still unpaid, and we're going to multiply it by interest rate of 12%. It says the interest rate is 12%. So we'll do 16,398 times 12%. And we're going to divide that, because that's for a whole year. So we want to make sure to divide that by 12. So I'll plug that in here. We're going to divide that by 12, and that is $163.98. So this would be the interest expense for month 1. So what does that mean? Well, that means that of this $1,000 payment, $164 basically of that $1,000 is going to directly to the bank. They're going to take $164 of that $1,000 and take it as interest revenue. The remainder of that will go to pay off the loan. So when we take that payment, we're going to subtract out the portion of it that represents interest to find out how much we're actually getting to pay off on our loan. So $1,000 minus this $163.98, that's $836.02 that we will reduce the loan amount. So reduction in our principal balance. So if we were to set up an amortization table, we have month 1, and here we will have payment, interest expense, reduction in principal, and then our remaining balance. So The first payment, remember, is $1,000 each and every month. The interest, the portion of that $1,000 that is interest is $163.98, and then that means that the portion that we will get to pay off on our loan is $836.02. So of that $1,000, the bank is only going to take $836 of that and reduce what we owe. So you can think of that as follows. So we have that payment is actually a combination of the interest expense and the reduction of the principal there. And we will do the same for month 2. So how much is the payment in month 2? It's still $1,000. But now we have to go and figure out what portion of that $1,000 is interest expense in month 2 and how much we actually get to pay off. So remember, interest expense, it's your unpaid principal balance times the interest rate, right? So how much is still unpaid going into month 2? Well, let's first find then the remaining balance left on the note after month 1. So what's the total amount that we owe? That's $16,398. How much did we get to pay off in month 1? $836.02. So the balance that we have left over here is $15,561.98 that we still owe on this note. So now when I go to find out the interest expense for month 2, we take the remaining balance, the unpaid balance, which now is $15,561.98, no longer the full $16,398. Multiply that by 12% for a whole year's worth of interest and divide by 12 for a month's worth of interest. We're going to take that $15,561.98 times 12% and divide that by 12. So it looks like the interest expense for month 2 would be $155.62. So that's the portion of the $1,000 that will go to pay the interest on the loan. So now how do I find the portion of the $1,000 that will actually go to pay off the loan? Well, we're going to take that $1,000 payment minus the portion of it that is interest. That remainder will be what we get to actually pay off on our loan. So we're going to do 1,000 minus 152 or 155.62, and we can see here that we get to pay off $844.38 on our loan here. So 844.38. So how much do we now still owe? Well, we'll take the old remaining balance minus what we got to pay off in this month, which is the $844.38. So we have $14,717.60 left on our note going into month 3, now at the end of month 2. So this is what an amortization table looks like, but we've only done the first 2 months of entries into that table there. Now, what would the entry look like actually to record those payments in month 1 and month 2? So in month 1, we just look at that table to build our entry. We are going to record the interest expense. We will debit interest expense for $163.98, and we will debit our installment notes payable, right? Because we got to pay off a portion of our note, right? We'll debit the note for the amount that we got to pay off, which is $836.02. And then we will overall credit cash for the $1,000 payment. Now, in month 2, what would that entry look like? Well, the entry structurally would be the same, just some numbers are going to be different. In month 2, we're going to debit interest expense for $155.62. We will debit the installment notes payable for $844.38. We'll once again credit cash for $1,000. So for all 18 months of the note, where every month we will have to credit cash for the $100,000 there. Now, one last thing to note here is as the note gets closer to maturing or gets closer to having nothing left over, the portion of interest expense goes down every month because you're paying that note off little by little. And you only pay interest on what you owe. And every month we owe a little bit less, so the interest that we get to pay each month is going to become smaller and smaller, and the portion we get to pay off is going to become larger and larger in proportion to the overall payment. All right, so that is that for this video. Keep on watching, and we'll get to discussing bonds payable.